purpose of this podcast is to help and educate people how to form and maintain healthy relationships and teach people how to resolve conflicts. First of all, there are 3 determinants of liking, which are similarity, proximity, and reciprocity. Similarity refers to how closely attitudes, values, interests, and personality match between people. To realise that 2 people are similar, communication between them must take place, and this often occurs when mutual attraction has been signalled. Mutual attraction is mainly based on the degree of similarities between 2 people. For example, it is common for friends to look similar to each other because as we humans are attracted to people who look similar to us, it is probable that they are in the same social class and have the same style or fashion sense. Friends usually also have the same values, beliefs, similar views on different topics, and the same level of education. This is shown as we often have a tendency to make friends with the people who go to the same school or who work with us. Another concept of similarity is when people start to talk to a person, they are usually able to discover if they have anything in common. If someone talks about or expresses an opinion that we do not agree with, it is probable that we won't like them. Whereas, if someone talks about or expresses something that we agree with, we have a tendency to like that person. Similarity differs depending on the age of the people involved. Young children are more likely to become friends if they do the same sport or if they play with the same toys. With adolescents, it is more about the physical features and their personality or what they like to talk about to determine if they will become friends. Then, with adults, it is more common for friendships to form while the similarities are noticed through talking maturely about work or politicians. Overall, the similarities 2 people have, the more likely it is that they will become friends. Proximity is described as the property of being close together, in this case, in a friendship relationship. In order to develop friendships, you have to meet these friends, so physically proximity is essential. This means that living close to each other is a major factor in determining long-term relationships. Another major factor that contributes to a long-term friendship is familiarity. Familiarity occurs when 2 people are regularly in contact and they become comfortable being around each other. Availability and accessibility result from living close, by which then develops familiarity because a stronger long-term friendship. This is why, when friends move away, it is hard to maintain a strong relationship because familiarity weakens and contact is less frequent. There is also an expectation of continued social contact when friends live close to each other, which makes long-distance relationships harder as the 2 people may not be able to maintain frequent contact because of the time difference and various other factors. Reciprocity refers to responding in a positive action with another positive action, and responding to a negative action with another negative one. For example, if someone gives their friend a compliment, they are more likely to receive one back than if they don't give one. An example of negative reciprocity is if someone hit their friend, they are most likely to get hit back or shouted at by their friend. Assertive communication is the ability to express positive and negative ideas and feelings in an open, honest, and direct way. There are 6 techniques for assertive communication. The first is behavioural rehearsal, which is when one person practices how they want to look and sound when they talk to another person. This technique helps you to get rid of any random emotions associated with other experiences, and it allows you to identify that one behaviour that you want to confront. The second technique is repeated association, which is used by saying exactly what you want to say, leaving out manipulative or irrelevant words, and saying anything that might cause another argument and getting straight to the point. This technique does not need to be rehearsed beforehand, as it might hype you up and then it could make you say something you regret. The third technique is fogging which is a technique that allows you to receive criticism comfortably. To carry out this technique, you need to acknowledge that the other person is saying, and if they are criticizing you for something you are doing wrong, agree that maybe you have been doing something wrong. Do not be defensive. The fourth technique is negative inquiry, which is when you seek out criticism from within yourself and address it properly. This technique is performed by listening for critical comments from the other person, making sure you fully understand what they are criticizing you for, and using the information that you are given if it is helpful. Although, if the criticism is manipulative towards you, you ignore it. The fifth technique is negative association, which is when you accept the errors that you have made but do not apologize. Instead, just sympathetically agree that you have done something wrong. This technique allows you to look comfortably at the negatives in your behavior or personality without being defensive. The sixth technique is workable compromise, which is when you consider a compromise that will work for both people. If the goal at the end of the conflict affects your self-respect or your self-worth, there can be no compromise, as the other person obviously does not care enough about your well-being to fully resolve the conflict. Interpersonal conflict occurs when two people have a serious argument or disagreement. Human conflicts most commonly involve raising voices and occasional physical violence. Interpersonal conflicts will affect relationships either in a good or bad way. If the conflict is large, then the effects are more likely to be negative, whereas if it is a small conflict, the outcome can sometimes be good, as they can lead to a change in the way the two people do things. It also can lead to a deepening of the relationship and lead to greater loyalty or increased motivation. This is why it is important to resolve friendship conflicts instead of putting them aside. To manage friendship conflicts, there are a few specific strategies involved. Bargaining is the most common strategy used for conflict resolution. There are a few tips and steps that can be used while bargaining: being positive, offering reasonable alternatives, being tough or conciliatory as required, and trying to find solutions in which both parties can benefit. Bargaining is used until a mutual decision has been made between the two people, which eventually resolves the conflict. If an agreement is not reached through bargaining, it usually makes the conflict worse or the situation stays the same. Another hint is that open and honest conflict may also lead to both people being satisfied with the resolution. When resolving conflicts, it is important that the final decision is fair towards both people. To do this, both people need to sort out what is causing the conflict and what the right solution is. Conflict resolution is a lot easier if both people are willing to work together and accept the outcome.